Hello, my name is Michael O'Keefe, aka The Movie Wist. If you enjoy this interview and want to hear more top-notch film industry conversations, please press the thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and hit the bell to stay in the know. Hello, Reid Dunlap. Please introduce yourself to my audience, but by telling us what you do for a career.
Well, I make money as best I can, which is not a lot, but what I actually do is I'm an assistant director in film. I've directed television, but I work predominantly, as I have most of my career, as a first assistant director on feature films and some, well, it depends, TV series, but more recently, more and more feature films and less series.
Okay. Which projects that you were involved with turned out the best, in your opinion?
That's always interesting because you go into every film, or at least any feature, thinking that it's probably going to be good, or else you're desperate for money. So I thought a lot of good, but the ones I've most enjoyed working on, Funny Boy, Deepa Mehta's recent movie, Midnight's Children, I thought had great possibilities. Enemy, Denis Villeneuve's strange film based on a South American writer. Those are the ones that come in the room. Was not a bad film. Those are the ones that sort of come right to mind. Those are the more recent ones, for sure.
Nice. Yeah, you worked on Enemy, am I correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Yeah, that was an interesting movie.
Did you see it?
Yeah, I saw it around 2014, 2015.
So what did you think of it?
It was weird. Yeah, it was fun.
It's trippy, isn't it? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's trippy. Fun. And it's shot in Toronto, which I like.
It's shot in Toronto, and it made Toronto look sort of almost evil, you know? It sort of, it went for all the old high places that no one so Dean was very smart that way, and moving slowly through things and watching things, and so it was, yeah, it's very cool, and its sensibility is great. So that was fun to work on, and I enjoyed the script a lot. And even though I can't pretend to explain what the spider's about, but it does make for theories, so it's good. Yeah, no, that was a lot of fun for sure.
For those who have no idea, can you explain the viscera of the Onset experience?
The viscera?
Yeah.
What do you mean by viscera? The skin of it, the flesh, the like what it means to be on set to someone that doesn't know?
Yeah.
Have you been on set?
I have been on some smaller sets.
It's like, I mean, if you come onto it, it's kind of the writer Christopher Isher would have compared it to a feudal system where there's a king and a bunch of lords and flatterers and all that stuff. But it's more like a chaos when you come in and you don't know what's going on. But it is a very organized chaos. There's 80 or so people running around doing various things, all in the business of trying to get what's in front of the camera as perfect or as interesting as possible. So you have, I mean, you know, there's what I do is I sort of like I'm a project manager in a way. I work with the director and I understand what his creative interest is, and I'm kind of responsible for helping him translate that through the logistical end of it, through hair, makeup, wardrobe, sets, camera, everything, so that everybody knows what's expected. So on the day, all those things are there and they can be put on film efficiently, even though what you're after is an efficiency. So it's kind of a weird mind because you're trying to keep the creative open if you have any intelligence, and also don't up the logistical because it's very expensive. So it's a strange game, and you're kind of trying to order all these cats to her, you know, but it doesn't really work, but you try, and in many ways it does. So I don't know whether that explains it, but that's a beginning. It's very hard if you've actually been on a set because there's so much, it's such a strange energy, and it's such a It was, and now it's all changing because of COVID. And will it come back to what it was? That's another interesting question. I don't know. I don't think so. We will see. But it is, yeah, it's a controlled madness. The important word is controlled.
Okay. What is your advice to people who are new to set? And then what is your advice to people who are more experienced, but maybe you would like to see more of on set? Constructive criticism for your peers.
Well, for newbies, it's just a matter of mostly shutting up and listening and watching for the first part, because there's no business that you need to take an intuitive leap. But to do that, you have to shut up and listen. And then it's thinking ahead. It's having that. It's not reacting. It's being proactive, and that can only come after you've been able to digest a little bit of how a film set actually works. Then you can start to, because there's no real book on how to do things, particularly the assistant director department. Anyway, there is, but there isn't. So it's a lot. Basically, it's two things. It's experience, which you don't have if you're a newbie, and common sense. And common sense would dictate that you listen and watch before you speak or try to do something. So the more you do that and learn from people, the faster you will get ahead and so understand whether you want to work in film or whether this is a madness. A more experienced fellow, that's a hard one, because everyone, when they go through, they think they know everything. So I think there's a lack of openness at a certain point from film crew members, because they feel they know everything. And every show is different, every director is different, every power structure in a film is different, which is what makes it interesting. It's not like working in an office. Once you know how the boss works, you know how the boss works. Well, in every film, the boss could be the DP in a way, secretly, or it could be the director, or it could be the production designer, or you don't know. It's just working out the 3D chess game of personalities, and trying at the same time to keep your eye on the ball to the movie that you think could be made here, if you care about that thing. Now, a lot of people go for a paycheck, but that's the problem. Then they get very closed in terms of what they're willing to be open to. And I think for people, it's an openness to working with new people and not shutting down into their normal ways of working.
Okay. Have you ever left a set?
Have I ever left a set?
Yeah.
Walked away? Oh, yeah. I've thrown walkie-talkies at people, sure. I was working as a second AD, and the first AD I didn't like, and he was a cow, and so at a certain point I just swore at him and threw my walkie, and I missed him, so that was sad. But I've been fired, I've quit, all those things have happened. It's not like a normal business where firing becomes like, wow, you were fired. It can be reasons, and sure, maybe I was incompetent, but maybe there was other reasons involved too, which are, a lot of them are political and personality wise, because it's such an intense film. Get to know people extremely well, extremely fast. You see them at their worst and at their most tired and intimate. So it's a very good lesson in human psychology, and having an understanding of that is certainly useful. As a first AD, it's critical, because you're dealing with all these disparate kind of people and emotions and actors and things that have to work together. So you have to decide whether to be a Nazi or whether to be calm and gentle and new world. So it's tricky, but it's fun.
Bruce
it's
McDonald.
not never dull.
Do you know Bruce McDonald?
Yes, I do. Not well, but certainly.
Yeah, he told me in an interview that a film set is like the military for hippies. A
little bit, yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, I don't like the word hippie, but I understand what he's saying. It's exactly, yeah. It has to have a military component to it, but I'm not a very military guy. So some people, sets are run like super military, but some sets are run a little less military and a little more. It depends on the director, on the producer, on what subject matter you're shooting is, what energy is. Because as a first assistant, you're responsible for what the energy is on set when the actors come on to perform. So if it's tight, out of sight, paranoid, then it's not going to be very good if you're running it like a Nazi. And you have to sometimes scream, but you don't. I don't like to work that way. Some people use that as a default. So that's what I mean. Every show has a different dynamic, and it's locking on the dynamic that the show needs, and hopefully your personality can work. And sometimes it doesn't, and you get fired, or you quit, or things don't work out. That's what I mean. It's not like a badge of dishonor if you're fired or you leave a show necessarily. If it's 150 shows, then there may be a problem with you. But
right. So what does the future hold for Ottawa Productions in your mind?
Ottawa. I haven't worked that much in Ottawa. I mean, I'm based here now, but I was based here for personal reasons, and I work kind of if they want me, then I go to wherever it is, which usually is in Ottawa. I have worked in Ottawa for the same reasons that I like to be at home, and occasionally there's a feature that shoots here, but most of the time it's kind of with respect, kind of Drecky, Hallmark. Lifetime, very formulaic and not just product. I mean, you're like making a tin of peas, and so it's not really filmmaking. It's a kind of work, but a difference, I would say. And I'm not like everyone that a job is a job. So Ottawa is very good. Problem is Ottawa is between Toronto and Montreal. So anything big, it's hard not to justify going there because they have the crews. Anyone who grows up in Ottawa and works in film and becomes good, they want to leave and go to Toronto or Montreal where they can work on different shows and bigger pond for the most part. Some people are content here because there is an industry here that does not quite enough to get you through the year a lot of the time for some people. And that's the problem. That's good and wants to keep working. It's really hard to remain in Ottawa because it's kind of between these two big centers, so it's tough that way. But a lot of good people have come out of it.
Okay.
Sure. But the Ottawa business is going to be strict. And occasionally in Ottawa, like a feature will come that needs to shoot Ottawa for reasons of the Parliament buildings or reasons of economy because they can't afford to shoot. There have been very interesting films shot here. Some of which I've worked on, some of which I haven't, but it's not enough to keep those kind of people here.
Do you watch a lot of movies in your spare time, or do you want to get away from them when you are not working?
I love movies. I went into movies because I wanted to write, and then when I was, in my teens, I saw a bunch of films, Kubrick films, and I thought, wow, that's actually like writing, but better. So I moved into that, and I went to York and took film really slow. I worked from film to film, and as I understood it better. And it's a kind of life not for everyone, because you don't know when your next job is. It's very unnerving in a certain way, and you need to have a little be willing to go with the flow because you don't know when your next job is going to be. So if that's important to you, don't do film.
Yeah, well, I'm a writer myself. I actually pitched a screenplay in Hollywood in 2019. What, from your vantage point, what is the best genre for a writer to be working in right now?
Or if you want to make money, I say that because that's a default, but I would, I would say to write something that you think is great and that you love, but stuff more likely to get made or a little bit of, is that kind of a twist on the horror, a low budget thing that can do, that's the most basic. If you want to try something else, there's more risk involved, but there's maybe greater return both poetically and financially, but it's riskier for sure. What was your film about, if you don't mind my asking? Was it a genre film?
Yeah, but it was a little too high-minded.
Well,
a little too conceptual. It needs to be boiled down. It needs to be distilled more, and then it'll be marketable.
Yeah, it's a hard job. I've tried to write scripts. It's very hard.
It's very challenging.
It's a hard job because it's a blueprint. It's not a work of art. It's a blueprint, but it's hard to understand that. You should go on set if you want to write too, because you can see a lot of, or work on a show, a TV series or something, just to see it. You'd really see how you'd get a lot of ideas being on set, because you see how things get cut and why they get cut and why people like stuff and why that becomes extraneous, even though when you're writing it seems like it's the most important thing in the world.
Right.
It's hard to.
But I want to say thank you for your time. Do you have one more message you would like to end this interview with?
God, kill the rich.